Okay, it's a video for another contender in the sub $50 range. This is a $49 Tinhifi C3. It's a single dynamic driver. It's got a kind of unique tuning for the sub 50 price bracket that I've got in my possession anyway, and I find it quite appealing. Let's go ahead and take a look at the frequency graph. Let me pick these up off of here while I'm taking a look. It's got a tuning that is really nice, actually. It's got sub bass over mid bass, nice and tight. It's following my target. Who cares about my target? Anyway, it's following it. It's very nice. It gets all the way to the mids, the ear gain. It's got a long sloping ear gain. And then it gets to about 4K and it starts to fall away. Let me see if I can go ahead and grab another set that has no right to be in this video, but I'm going to do it anyway. The Odin. Why did I put the Odin here? Well, I'll show you really quick. The Odin, one of its saving graces for me is that step down harmonic replay. It's not gone, it's not a cave, it's not cratered, it's just taking harmonic extensions and slowly letting them fall away like they're supposed to. So you've got a vocal forward set that's got good bass, not too much, and then it's got good extension, but it's not too much, and it won't fatigue unless you're sensitive to the upper mids, but most people like myself are sensitive to 8K beyond being boosted above the gain. The Odin doesn't do that. It's got a step down waterfall type, which I like. When I saw this, I immediately thought, that's kind of very similar, because it actually is. It falls down, 8K, it's got the little notch, then it falls down again, and then we get to past 10K and we are at an amplitude that's essentially the same as the mid frequencies, which is something you should pay attention to when you're looking at graphs. When you're looking at treble extension, take a look at where that is relative to the mid frequencies, because this is an amplitude scale. This is showing you how much energy is being put into and enforced by a driver or a series of drivers by tuners. Is basically what this is. Like you take an EQ and you want to boost up the mid bass this much, you want to do, this is what the driver is doing before you touch it. And I think that they did a really good job with the C3, and it works very well with my library in ways that some more expensive sets actually don't. Let me go ahead and turn, let me look at this really quick. One thing that I would ding on this is that it's got the same plastic shells as the P1 Max, which is okay, but it's just personal taste. I think it's okay. It's fine build for its price range. I like metals or alloys or stuff like that, so I'll move along from that. The cable itself is really not a problem, so I won't jump on that. It's $50, it's fine. It's kind of spidery, it's not that big a deal. We get into music, stuff in the low end, like the 808 roll-in, deck mix stuff like Tupac, Violent, Massive Attack Angel, Packed Like Sardines and Crushed Tin Box by Radiohead. All of those things do very good with this set. It's got enough energy to do that. It doesn't have a problem. Drops sound good. The 38 hertz drop on Big Boy Killjill sounds good. I can hear it. It's quite clear. It's not getting in the way. Hatsune Miiku's vocals are not offensive or grating on me. I don't have to put up with that as I get to the triple drop. As we get into bass guitar is interesting because it's reflected in the mid bass, and if you listen to a bass guitar and you adjust the mid bass live while you're doing it, you might have slight delays depending on whatever software you use. You can literally hear it sound like the bassist and the vocalist are kind of being pushed together when you elevate the mid bass. It's a psychoacoustic effect, and it's very, very clear. Overly elevated mid bass will make the bassist sound like he's really dominating and he's produced as being the main player in the track, when actually Mark Knopfler's vocals and guitar are. But he is supposed to be present. He is supposed to be pinning it down. You're supposed to hear the pulls and releases and the snappiness in the bass if it's done well to my ear and to other people that I've heard and home systems. This set does that well, actually. The bass tuning for a library that crosses hip-hop into R&B and rock and roll is pretty much spot on. It's very, very nice. It sounds good. There's no issues with any of the bass guitar tracks like Black Sabbath, Violent Femmes, Sultans of Swing. Drum kits are the same. When they sound skewed, bass guitar often does as well, depending on if you've got a tuck or if you've got too much mid-bass. Just in general, it can sound like it's kind of bloating or toning out and blowing into the guitars and definitely into vocals. This doesn't have issues like that at all. I think drums sound good, like the bass guitar. When those two things sound good, by the way, that bodes well for the vocals, because that means that they're not getting in the way of the vocals. They're not husking up male vocals, which is okay to some extent. It's not doing that to female vocals, which is almost absolutely not okay in any circumstances. That's a lot of the reason why recs that I give and recs that people listen to, a lot of female vocals, K-pop, J-pop, are often different because they're focusing on a dry, clean, open replay for female vocals, which requires less mid-bass. So there's part of the gap with different recs by different people. It's down to library. You got to always remember the library that's involved with the opinions that are being given. Vocals, Earth, Wind & Fire, September, Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, 2 male, 2 female vocalists, I think sound good. I just did the Fat Frequency Maestro SE, and I said that there is an audible impact in female vocals just because the sheer amount of energy in the low end. It's not bad, but it's noticeable. Noticing that itself is undesirable for many people. They don't want to hear something sounding. They don't want to hear a tizzy cymbal. They don't want to put up with that. They don't want to hear a husky male vocal with a vocalist that they're familiar with and know that that's not the case. They don't want to hear bass guitars that are blooming into the vocal range. They don't want to hear non-ideal stuff. In vocals, this is fine because the bass is tame and correct to my ears and is not impacting male or female vocals really at all. So we move into strings, something that has become, I should have done this years ago. I've always had this stuff in my library, but the amount of energy that you can get from like Piano Concerto 1 and how much overly boosted 8K and beyond can fatigue and cause ringing from a full string section in an orchestra is kind of incredible. It's hard to mimic with other stuff in my library, but a large string section can do it. This is perfect for stuff like that. It's good for long listening. It sounds accurate to the ear at low volume. It's quite good. It's $49. Tinhifi releases lots of stuff. It's hard to keep up with the stuff. I don't know if I've done videos for half of them. I maybe have. This is definitely a set that I'm going to put in the top 5 $50 and below because I like the way that it sounds. I like its fall-away tuning like the Odin, which was done on purpose by Empire Ears. Did they do this on purpose? They did it, so who cares? Let's move along. They may not have, but I do like the way that treats my library in the same way that I like the Odin, because harmonics are critical. They're not to be boosted. They're not to be constantly in my ear, giving me a grain, a graded, just an energy light ringing that starts to build up after 20 minutes and then becomes part of the mix constantly, and you can't see if that's part of what you're listening to or that's your ears separately ringing. And then you pull out the earphones and you realize my ears are ringing. That upper treble boost is not something I can handle, so when I see stuff that doesn't do that but also gives enough energy to hear the completion of the final order harmonics of whatever I'm listening to, I find that to be something I probably want to listen to a little longer. And I did with this set, and I found it to be appealing. Tinhifi C3, nice. The T4 Plus, high possibility that I don't give this a video. There's other people that are probably going to like this, and good for them. I'm probably going to skip along from this one and go with the C3. Or mention it in another video, but not really for today. So that's it. That's the C3. You guys have a great weekend. Questions, comment below. Good set, competitive. Sub 50 is just absolutely savage recently. And I'm out.